On that note, I think Alkin is here to introduce his MySQL cookbook. So he'll be sharing his experience as an author and the whole journey of getting this published with O'Reilly.
Okay, can I start now?
Just give us a moment. All right, Alkin, take it away.
All right, thank you for eating and listening this session. And let's get connected. My name is Alkin. I'm from Istanbul, Turkey, and I'm here to share some experiences about authoring a book. Hopefully, I'll share the slides. You can go through and contact me if you have any questions later on. I'm kind of known as AskDB as my nick. I've been in this business for a long time with the open source databases, and also I have enterprise database backup. So I also like sailing, and I do a bunch of time spent on the sailboat, and this book is part of that. So it's kind of a work-life thing that out of 4 chapters are written in this sailboat. So if you have any questions about the sailing, it would be a good discussion to have also. All right, this is where I work, and we actually focus on ClickHouse infrastructure operations net right now. And what does that have to do with MySQL? Well, the data comes from MySQL or Postgres, so there's a big link between the OLAP processing and the OLTP processing, so that's what my area is. Also, it's an open source database. And what does it do? It's a columnar, fast analytics SQL compatible database. And if you haven't tried it, maybe you can try it for the analytical workloads and ask questions for future reading or something like that. And so let's get to the book. The book is also here. It's 1.6 kilograms. This book was written by Paul, who is an Oracle employee, and he actually didn't want to write the 4th edition. And this actually includes developer and administrative chapters in it, so it's a mix and match. It's a solution-based. O'Reilly's cookbooks are solution-based, so there's a problem and the solution type. Right now it's 938 pages, I think. That's what the book is. And this book took about over two years to write, and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. I can say that there's a lot of rewriting and reviewing goes on with these large chapters. It actually, what happens is when you actually rewrite, when you go back after 8 months of a chapter that you worked on, you may not remember what you wrote. So I also co-authored this book. Actually, Sveta is a MySQL expert, is known in the MySQL community, and you can follow her Twitter and blog posts. She has a lot of talks about MySQL troubleshooting, things like that. She was the primary author for this book. So unfortunately, she's not here, and she says hi. So how do I end up over here? This there's a 10,000 hour things, and actually we walked into this building this morning. There's a 10,000 hour sign. It's more or less it's a 10,000 hour thing. So it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill, but maybe sometimes on the sailing it takes 10,000 nautical miles to go, and then maybe on a motorcycle it's 10,000 kilometers to be master a skill. So it actually took me 10,000 hours to author a book. You need to have a luck to get a book published. I always wanted to author a book, but this wasn't my intention, like writing a technical book. I was kind of planning on a non-technical book. I've done some experiments, and it took pandemic to trigger this, because there's nothing else to do in the free time. We were locked in. So before that, I authored blogs. You can check my blogs if you search Google. And I also attempted to write a booklet about like maybe 8 years or 10 years ago. That also took me about like a year and a half to get. It was a MySQL learning booklet, and then it got published as with another. We'll talk about that. Authors from our ex-colleagues, and so I did invite many co-authors. I've spoken to the people who actually authored books with other publishers, but never got to that point. I've given a lot of talks globally, and that helped me to be actually learning about the subject and the technology. And I always focused on the same open source databases for the last, let's say, a decade and a half. I go back a little bit more than that in my professional life, but previously I was on enterprise side of the house. So it's about 3 decades of experience put together in this book. Someone was saying, including Sveta and my experience, we're like almost half a century of experience total to get to this book. So what are the stages of authoring a book? When you actually get an invitation or a kind of mutually agreed to write, there's going to be an agreement. So it's like an NDA, like documents to be signed. Bunch of legal documents you actually sign, and this is basically nothing but a contract, like you actually join a company, and then you have to agree on the table of contents, at least get the outline of it, what the chapters will be. Since this is a 4th edition, there was a requirement to change 60% of the book, so that that was the agreement, which was problematic at the end, but we got it covered. So the other biggest challenge was, for me especially, was the platform. O'Reilly has its own platform, and it uses certain techniques to compile a book. So if you're not like very XML oriented person, or you don't have an HTML experience from the past, this might be a difficulty getting ASCII doc or docbook. It's not like you have a Word document or a text where you could just type everything and then copy and paste things. It doesn't work that way. I'll explain that a little bit more later. And then there's editors assigned. So you meet with one editor, you start working on it, and then editor may change on the way. And that makes a little bit of a challenge. And then there's also a supervisor that actually overlooks for the deadlines if you're actually meeting with the chapters that are. It's very commitment in the sense of like we do at work. So it's nothing but like reaching the goals in every quarter, reaching the chapters and finishing them, and then packing them. But they go through other reviews later on in these stages. So so you should start with the difficult chapters, because easy chapters are easy to cover later on. What you should look for the most difficult chapters in the beginning, because there's going to be some burnout along the way. So there's going to be a research time needed. Even though you know the subjects, you're not always academically qualified to put a statement in it. So you need to make sure that the information that we put in a book is correct before it even goes out to the technical reviewers. So technical reviewers are assigned from the authors, asked to by invitation, and also publishing house like O'Reilly will also invite external technical reviewers, which can actually be difficult to communicate because there's the timelines when they get back to you. So you give a chapter after after the technical reviews are done. The other parties, technical reviewers, may actually challenge or actually ask to make changes. So I've used Grammarly for grammar correction along the way, so that you can actually go back and forth with the editor as much as possible, reduce that interaction with the editors. There's a review process is complicated. Since we were 2 authors, we reviewed each other's work, and every time we actually complete a chapter or section. Sometimes chapters are split. Most of the time, Sveta had vast knowledge of certain problems that she would actually jump in and fix those, and I would just do the whole chapter, or some of the chapters we would be split in between the 2 authors. And then there are the final edits before everything else goes. Those final edits are done by other editors. So the reason is like it's a second set of eyes. It's another person reviewing your work, editor's work actually. So that's how it is. So how do we put all this together? We actually authoring is confirmed, and then we get the reviews are done. Chapters also go through the quality assurance, because there's a lot of console output. The console outputs don't fit in these because it's not an electronic version. There'll be 2 versions: one electronic in PDF, one in the portal, and one in the printed book. So it has to be passing all those checks. Character sets, things need to look normal when you actually from your screen to when it goes, and then they all randomly come back with a feedback, because all of a sudden they say, okay, this is more than 132 characters, you can't fit this, you have to split this up. While in MySQL CLI, you can't split everything up. Some of the output are large and long, and that was another thing to. So the other thing is the builds. The builds are done on GitLab for O'Reilly. Basically, you write it on XML or XML editor, or write it manually on XML on VI, and then you push the code on GitLab. You check in, and then make sure there are no conflicts. If there are any conflicts or any errors, it won't compile. Then you hit compile, and then you say, "Okay, give me a PDF out of this." Sometimes it takes a long time, and then you wait for it to see what actually was typed in as a that section or chapter or whatever the change you made. So basically, it's a cycle of it's like pushing the code to a repo and then checking the output of what happened after that. So there's this cycle of reviewing, pushing, reviewing, pushing. And moreover, there is also the GitHub part. So O'Reilly uses GitLab for the compilation of the book. We use GitHub for the SQLs and the scripts, all the sample data sets. So everything that on this book, every SQL statement, even if it's a simple select star from customer, has a SQL file in GitHub repo. So you can actually refer to that, look, copy, paste, and actually take an example or and advance on it. So there is also the other part. Once you actually complete your the GitLab part, you also have to go back and make sure that all the steps in each section are covered as a text file, as a SQL file in the GitHub repo. So you have to check that in. And again, compile, check it, make sure that everything works and no syntax errors. So the good part was on the syntax errors, we were on MySQL 8. We mentioned this on the part of the book. So if you're using MySQL 8, distribution, most of the syntax should work, other than the latest updates that yesterday we went through some of those features. So the production schedule, after all that done, there is another production schedule. So this kicks in the last 6 months of the book, where we think that most of the reviews are done from internal and external technical reviews. There's the illustration. We have an illustration on the front page, this O'Reilly Science and Animal of every book. These are endangered species, so there's a little bit of a writing about what animal is that and what the problem is. Basically, we need to protect the nature, and then there's a lot of cleanup goes through. There's a quality control 1, quality control 2, it goes back and forth, and then make sure that everything is set and it looks professionally before it goes to press, and then it goes to a sample press. You get like about 10 books of an example, and then you actually take a look at it, make sure that everything is spelled correctly. No auto correction was made after we submitted, because editors go through it, and then sometimes autocorrect and the spelling, some of those things can actually change. Sometimes you do find actually minor character set encoding errors between the code, because we use it at MySQL, experimenting on the encoding character sets and everything, that there are some examples over there. So key takeaways from authoring a book. One of them is talk to other authors, like talk to me, and before you actually jump on the gun. Do a platform research and make sure that you ask what platform I'm going to be writing. If you're collaborating, maybe Google Doc type of or Word type of thing might be useful, and add it with the Grammarly plugin. And you need to keep track of the process, because the larger books, it gets out of track very easily. And then also dedication of time. So this is done apart from our professional life, apart from our commitment to our work. Book actually, you need to find and delegate the time of a blogs to write. It's like writing a blog post or anything like that you do as a side. You need to block. So I did early mornings, 5 to 7 a.m. Every morning, and all the research I've done in that morning, because there's no interruption. And then on the weekends, I spared at least 2 4-hour blocks whenever the time actually allowed. And so that's the work life and the book balance. This is like similar to doing a degree while you work, and you have life, you have kids and other commitments and social life that goes on. And overcommitting will kill, and then it will cause other problems along the way. Again, it's a commitment. And I also wrote a very detailed blog about the book, and then there's a link. I'll share that. And we also had a more detailed technical presentation of the book in Perkona University last November. So there's a YouTube recording of that also. A new book? Well, I wasn't actually planning to open another book. About a couple of weeks ago, I was on another conference in Pasadena, and I got a book offer to write database design and modeling for MySQL and Postgres. And I will be co-authoring with Ibrar, who is actually Postgres expert, so we can actually combine our forces to author this book. Before coming over here, we have drafted our table of contents for this book, so this will start as early as this summer. So I will share the details with a blog post or some tweets. So what's in this book? You'll probably get a chance to take a look at it. It's a problem solution, and then we come up with problems, and then describe the problem. Go with some of the problems are more complex than others. So in each section, there are like over 200 recipes that says, okay, how do I do this? And so if you have an electronic version, you can make a search, about, compression or some other technique, replication, security, something that you are trying to figure out. Maybe there's an example. So there was a talk about a special reference system for MySQL. This is new, updated version in MySQL 8. So one of the chapters we covered this with examples, giving some, SQL statements, how to use the reference system, and then creating a sample table for point of interest, and then inserting data that squares that, and then we can create an index on the special system, and then measure the distances between using the built-in functions, and we have some of the functions that allows you to get that, and this is again MySQL 8's improved system that if you're actually onto location-based services that's built into the database, you can actually now try that. And this is the book. And also there are three other books came out in relatively same time frame. If you're learning MySQL, I recommend taking a look at especially the Learning MySQL. And that was my original idea and the one that I wrote about booklet. The Efficient MySQL is for more advanced and a high performance MySQL is for the ecosystem. So how to get things done in the MySQL world with the proxies, backup recovery, scalability, sharding, and all that kind of details are in those books. So set of these 4 books will cover you most of the MySQL learning, and that will help you get to the next level. And thank you very much. And I can take a question if there's any.
A second. Who's your co-author on Postgres?
Ibrar Ahmed.
Ibrar.
Yes.
Bogana.
Yes. Ibrar from is a principal consultant, so we will be actually authoring. I will make the official announcements once more details are coming up. Any other questions? Anybody wants to write a book? Oh, yeah. We need more books. So the pandemic era, there was some gap. People actually didn't publish as much because there were less interaction. And there are some of the older books have been kind of outdated, like 6-7 years old. They are same subjects. But for more modern, as you know, both MySQL and Postgres are advancing. Every release, there are new features are coming out. There's more distributed databases are in the market. So there's a opportunity. Don't think that, oh, this book was written, I don't need to write a book. That's not the case. There's always a new version. Like we had to spend 2.5 years for a book that's on the 4th edition. So that means we cannot just sit and say this book was written 3 times. We don't need to write it anymore. So any other questions? Are there any students over here? Students, you get the book. So one more quick update. I have donated from my book budget 7 of them in the universities in Istanbul to students. after they read them, they actually donated to the library of the university. So I hope you actually take a look at it, read it, and then donate it to your university, so some other students can take benefit. All the royalties from my part for this book will be donated to earthquake victims in Turkey. We had a major disaster about 2 months ago, so I've donated. Donations will be coming for all the royalties from my part for the earthquake victims for this year. So if anybody buys, we'll be helping the earthquake victims. We have some sample books over here, and we will be signing books. Please get in line, and then as much as we are allowed, I want to share some of the books with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you guys enjoy your lunch. We're going to have some learning talks coming up very soon, and also don't forget we're going to have a group photo at 1:30 upstairs at the lecture theater. Okay.
There's some issue with streaming.
This hybrid.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm in, right? Yeah. So I. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
I'll
so
go-
you
so
need you
this
to
one.
also go back to
Oh, sorry.
that tab for a while. You need to right click this tab and then mute it. There's some annoying background music.
Oh,
Mute this side. Yeah.
and I can just go straight in.
You probably need to present as
Oh,
well.
present, so-
Present, and then it will get you to like pick what you want to share.
Slides. Google Slides.
That will- there is that.
Yes, I
Hopefully your password is protected. Oh no, you're good.
Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good lunch. There is still some food around. We're here for the lightning talk session, which is about again.
It's this one, right? Yeah. I just hope there's sound in my video.
I think so. I mean, if not, we can
You just
we can move onwards. But
So wait, what did I click next?
If you just click this, I think you probably want to be able to see the slides. as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just click this.
Yeah. Okay, that's that.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah, because it's all. It doesn't make sense.
Because it should be, the slide should be up now.
Yeah, exactly. The slide should be. No, what they're saying is this. So maybe try presenting again. Where's the AV guy?
everyone,
Just going through a couple of technical difficulties right now.
Yeah.
So much for lightning.
We're experiencing technical issues. Yeah, nothing's happening.
G is gathering.
she's
Yes.
gathering. Open science bar. There you go. I know there's so many S's, so many S's.
No, what's happening? That's it.
You want to just share the whole screen, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering if we get to share the whole screen, or like, can you share it?
Because you had the tab, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Share the whole screen, just show the tab.
Yeah, let's do that. Does it have an option to share audio? So I would do that. So that way our thing works. Chrome tab.
I should go entire screen, yeah?
Yeah, why not? Try
Oh, there we
there we go.
I'm
We do have a 1 minute video. That's probably the longest part of it, but everything else should be about a minute.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Brianna and Jay from GOSH, the Gathering for Open Science Hardware, and they're about to have a lightning talk from them right now. Brianna, Jay.
Cool. All right, everything's working. We're good to go. All right, cool. All right. Sound good? All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna, although most people just call me Bree, and I'm going to be giving a lightning talk today with Jay, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about a group of people known as the GOSH community. Thank you, Jay. All right. So usually we use the word GOSH, but what the heck does that mean? What does it stand for? It stands for the Gathering for Open Science Hardware. So we are a group of people from all over the world that are dedicated to making open science hardware ubiquitous. So we have gatherings that have taken place in over 4 different countries, and when we aren't gathering in person, we're all talking online on our community forum. So we're all about networking and convening and holding space together as a group of people. Okay. So we talked about the G a little bit, gathering, but we've got the rest of it, open science hardware. And I'm not sure how many of you might be familiar with what science hardware is, open hardware, that sort of stuff. So let me just quickly explain what open science hardware is. So I am sharing this picture. I really like to have it up when I'm describing open science hardware because you can actually see inside of this camera trap right now. And so I think it does a really good illustration of proving the purpose of open science hardware, which is having access to what is inside the tools that we use for science. So this is a camera trap that's often used for wildlife conservation, but now we can see inside of it, we can see the designs, we can see how to recreate it, and basically following the same principles as open source software. Open source hardware is all about being able to use, see, and modify the designs that we use to make science hardware. And GOSH specifically is concerned with science tools. So I often think of microscopes, sensors, things like that, just any kind of equipment that you'd find in a lab or in some sort of scientific setting. So I won't get too into this because I know we've got a lot of lightning talks that are happening today, but just really quickly, some places that GOSH has met before. Our very first gathering was at CERN in Switzerland in 2016. And then after that, we went all the way to Chile the year after. And then we actually were in Shenzhen, China as well. So we've already 2 different continents. And because we are such a global community, we have our events all over the world and convene people from all sorts of spaces.
Right.
All right, Jay?
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just be briefly talking about the latest gathering that we had. It was last year, October, November.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was happening in Panama. which is in the South America area, right?
Yeah, Central America.
Central America, sorry, Central America area. Just last year, and as you can see, just a bunch of pictures of us hanging out, having a great time, gathering a bunch of geeks, just geeking out about open science hardware and everything science. And yeah, just as a little fun picture that we also put here, you can see that's a nyeke, which is pretty much the exotic sort of national animal, right?
Yeah. It's like
National animal of Panama. That was a huge theme at our gathering in Panama last year, which is something we people at Gosh like to do when we have gatherings, is that we like to get involved in the country's culture and kind of bring it together with the whole theme of Gosh and just essentially make the gathering more fun for everybody. So yeah. Right, and now here is just a quick 1-minute video of just what was happening at Gosh last year and just like everyone's brief input on like what was happening at Gosh 2022 last year. So yeah.
Open science hardware is about clear boxes. It's about being able to see everything inside of your tool, know exactly how it works, and know how it can be replicated for anyone in the world. This year, we brought the Gathering for Open Science Hardware to Panama. I'm really excited about having us in Panama because there's almost no place on Earth where you can have this very fascinating intersection, especially for a group that's as interested in science and technology as us, to have both of those right there. This massive globalization right next to a bunch of howler monkeys making sounds in the jungle. Probably the most important thing about the Gosh community is making these connections between all of these wonderfully strange individuals who are all incredibly active and excited about sharing their thing and finding outlets and communities for them to share with.
Okay, so yeah, that was the video, and over here is just a QR code in case you guys are interested to find out more about Gosh and our community. Yeah, this is just basically a QR code to a web page that has a welcome package. It just lists a bunch of information about Gosh. It's essentially like an e-catalog if you think about it, and you can just check it out. You have a bunch of projects up there, and yeah, and if you can't access the QR code, of course, you can use the website as well. So yeah. And so we won't take up any more further of your time because there are more lightning talks. But yes, if you're free, please do come check us out at our booth, which is all the way right at the back, right next to the exit on that side of the room. So yeah, thank you all for your time and attention. And we just hand it over to the next speaker.
Thank you.
welcome to here. I'm William Xiong. I'm Wei Xiong. I'm the member of the technology committee of OpenEuler. Here is the first time for OpenEuler to go out of China. In China, it has been very popular OS platform, and it has taken around 1/3 market in China. So I'm very happy to came to Singapore to do the presentation. I don't want to talk about too much about the product because the operating system is very, very complicated. So I don't want to talk about the details. I just want to talk about what it is. So OpenEuler is not another kind of boring OS distribution. We don't want to repeat to be another CentOS or another Red Hat, or Federal. So what we want is to make a platform which make everyone or every company can build their own OS. So just like if you have a small device or you have running the cloud or you're running to run the server, you can input some configuration file into the system, and the system can create the OS for your scenarios. So that is the total idea. So that the tools to support this is the OpenEuler, Euler Maker. So this tool will be released by the end of this year. By my estimation, it will be in September, so you can get the tool. And so that is the rough idea of OpenEuler. So if you want to try to get more information, you can refer to that booth, our booth. Close the door. You can to register, to make a try, to communicate, or do something like that. And finally, I want to talk about the feeling in Singapore in this FOSSASIA. I was very happy to FOSSASIA first time for us to come here to communicate with different community, different projects. And I'm very happy that we talk about a lot of collaboration between those projects and the community. And I also feel very surprised that we never to do to hold the event or something like that out of China. But I'm surprised that some people know OpenEuler. They know that, and some people even download and use it. So it's totally for me, it's very surprised. So I think that is the amazing point for the open source. So if you open source to the world, you can get a lot of audience, fans, a lot of friends, and get a lot of partners. So I also meet some students here in the university, and I also meet some enterprise here. So we try to meet more and more those kind of company partners, students, or our collaboration partners all over the world. So welcome to join OpenEuler, to do some registration and to make some different thing for the OS area. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Xiang-Wei. Go. Hey guys, so I've got a talk going on this afternoon. There's a few of you guys, hey, are nice friends over there. Hopefully you'll be coming. So I know Brendan talked to you earlier about some of the cool things that we're doing at Express with Trusted Server and with Lightway. One thing that we haven't really covered anywhere and has come up in a lot of conversations has been Lightway Core, which is the already open source component for Lightway. It's available on our GitHub right now, and it basically takes the essence of Lightway and makes it into an embeddable library. So this library is designed to be very user-friendly. It's pure ANSI C. It doesn't have any sockets in there. It doesn't have anything like TCP or UDP. Has very few build requirements. And the idea is that you can then take this library, drop it into your application or potentially your robot or your hardware, and then with a simple callback, you can wire up this library to anything you want. So traditionally, you would use TCP or UDP, no worries. But if you wanted to hook this up to a radio receiver, if you wanted to hook this up to, I think the most interesting one we've seen so far is Lightway over Google Sheets. And this is where you take the Lightway component and instead of wiring the network side to like a UDP socket or a TCP socket, you actually wire it to a Google API call where one of the clients will write to one column and the other client will write to the other column, and then they read from the top of each other's. So this is not fast. You are not going to be streaming Netflix or YouTube with this. But if you wanted a very simple, stable connection, or you just wanted to have fun with it, this is a really nice way of just moving data around and having some fun. So Lightway doesn't try to impose any sort of restrictions on you. The idea is to be as open as possible and to see what you guys can wire into it. In fact, like, we would love to see more people doing more things with this library. I'll be talking more about Lightway itself this afternoon at 5:30 up in the main lecture hall. And lastly, because our posters aren't clear enough, like, we are hiring, we are looking at all sorts of different areas of tech. If you're interested in firmware and DevOps, pretty much any part of development, please do come and check us out. I would have said this at the end of my main talk, but our booth will be closed by then, so if you guys do want to come have a chat, we have great mugs, we have great bags. Please do come over. We're just literally over there by the Grafana Labs, just a few feet away. So yeah, please do feel free to come and talk to us. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Pete. Next up, for the last talk of the session, we have Rashi. Yes, go.
Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Can you all hear me? Anyone can? My name is Rashi. I'm based out of India. I am a strategy consultant and trainer with the Accessibility Lab. We're an organization that seeks to include people with disabilities by promoting accessibility in the digital world. So yeah, the slide, I can't see. Can someone show the slides? If you can, yeah. Yes, so we work with organizations across the world, across different sectors to help them with cater to their accessibility needs. And we do have, we live in a world where 1 in 7 people have a disability or develop a disability sometime later on in their lives. We hope to make web accessibility perceptible to everyone, where the content across the web interface, whether it's a page or an app, and increase the functionality of it to help people, eliminate the different obstacles that we all have, that we all go through while interacting, transmitting, and processing and understanding information. Some of the benefits, and it often gets overlooked, but one is it helps with corporate social responsibility, gives you a competitive advantage, helps you avoid legal risks if you are based out of countries in the US or in Europe where there is tighter regulation around this, helps you capture a good market, and also helps with SEO positioning, compatibility, and there are so many other aspects. Digital accessibility also provides an efficient and safe way for people who have different disabilities to for education, long-term employment, everyday tasks, and also, of course, contributes and introduces a new economy. How do we, a lot of people ask us, and I'm talking to a lot of open source advocates, how do we instill a culture of inclusion and accessibility, which is what we do with the Accessibility Lab. This is our primary audience, where we look at engaging with different stakeholders. It could be UI, UX designers, developers, customer service teams, marketers, directors, and many, many others. How do we do it? We do awareness trainings, we do accessibility assessments, whether it's audits, direct implementations, testing and monitoring. And we actually follow the web accessibility, content accessibility guidelines mentioned by the Web3 Consortium. We're currently at version 2.1, 2.2 releases in May. So what we're also saying that we're not doing anything new. It's always been there. We're just implementing. You can reach out to me. We do have, we offer pro bono services for open source tool teams, anyone who has or has been working on enhancing security and privacy. So please reach out to us if you are running an open source project, irrespective of the geographical background. We are happy to help you and make your tool and product more accessible. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for your attention. Any questions, quick questions for Rashi? If you want, you can also come and look for her after this session. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So for right now, can I request everyone to make their way up to the lecture theater, please, because we will be preparing for the group photo.
How was that?
A bit strange that I thought you were going without slides, and then it turns out you were fixing it.
Can I leave this here?
Yep.
Okay, one more. Okay, one.
Get some help. I need help with the StreamYard, with the newspaper. I don't know.
No, where, which one?
Hey, out here, out here. Sorry, we gotta. Người ta đây tao làm ai làm ship này phải của mày không? Phải của mày không? Màyบอกnói là sao cái này đâu có cái lịch rõ ở ngoài event hall mà gì event hall mà. And make an announcement for everyone to come. Hello everyone. So I like everyone. If you are interested, I would like to you to gather to our stage here, and we're going to listen to Palm from Thailand, and he's going to talk about building open source to make Bangkok suckless, which is very interesting. So everyone, please come here quickly. Yes, if everyone would like to support our friend here from Thailand, that would be great. Okay, our talk will start in like 1 minute.
And I'm from Bangkok, Thailand. So today I want to talk about how we are engaging 1,000 developers in Thailand to make open source to make Bangkok suck less. So let me introduce quickly first. So my name is Prum and I'm an indie hacker from Bangkok, Thailand. So I'm originally from the southern of Thailand, which is Songkhla. I'm also a co-founder of Creators Garden. Before this, I was VP of engineering at a Belgian. I decided I want to go with open source first. So if you're interested in Rust, TypeScript, and Linux, please talk to me. Alright, let me introduce Creators Garden briefly first. So at Creators Garden, we are basically a holistic of developers and creators in Thailand, and we believe in doing things not only in software world, but also in other communities like art, science, and bioscience. So we have organized, right now it's around 30 events. This is not up to date. So a lot of them are on student hackathons, a lot of them are coding competitions and developer meetups, but all of them have the same goal to make developers more creative and better in software engineering. But here's where it all gets started. It's wants a one-page list where everyone can comment basically anything that is stupid. So this turns out to be a dumb idea, but it turns out people really enjoyed it, and we have been for 6 years straight. So yeah, so this has been our 6th year now, and the 7th one is gonna be organized soon. So we have been building that since 2017, and we have gotten over 900 developers over the years, and they have built so many projects. So let me show you a couple from our students. First, how do you build a bug-free code? Maybe you use a language model, right, to correct the code, but we have a better solution. You just put like Buddha insignia and now your code's perfect. This is a common solution near like Songkran in Thailand. Yeah. In Thai, we call this germ, which is giving your server a boost. It's better than any firewall. Now, how do you improve friendliness of websites? Thai websites are known for being very hard to use and not flashy. So we do a Chrome extension to make it so much better. So you can randomize from the color palette you want. I'll warn this is not epilepsy friendly. And this is the best one. How can animals code? If you're a seal, you don't have hands, you only have your voice. How do you code? Easy, you do a programming language for them. So this is a programming language that our friend built called Ung Lang. Ung is the sound of seals. So it uses just 5 full characters, but it's fully Turing complete. You can build any application with this, and it compiles to C. Okay, another one. How can you be more productive when you have a lot of windows? You use a window manager, right? No, we do a trolling window manager. So if you use keyboard, you're fine. If you use a mouse, you are screwed. So it tries to move the window if you move your mouse. Okay, and this one, right now we're moving towards the age of quantum, right? So how do you supersede Moore's law, which is the law that indicates as silicon gets smaller, it's, well, basically harder to jam more stuff on the chips. Well, you enslave the entirety of human, and then you make them run assembly. So every assembly instruction is basically just doing arithmetic, right? So technically you can write a program that transcribes your assembly code and send it to a human to answer. Because we have 7 billion people in the world, you can basically multi-thread better than SIMD. Yeah, so this is obviously very, very stupid. There's a couple more. So like obviously Rickroll. Oh, this one is cool. So basically, if you have a logo, but your client say it sucks, the logo doesn't look like it's properly thought out, we use OpenCV to randomly draw circles, so it looks like it's properly designed. Yes. So yeah, the project itself is obviously extremely silly, but technology behind us, we use OpenCV, we use AI, we use machine learning. So people got to learn from this obviously stupid things. Yeah, so if you're interested in the 100 projects, just scan this code and you can see a lot more gems for yourself. All right. All right, so Thai people, they are very creative, as you can see, but there's a weird thing. Why are so few developers engaged in open source? Right now in this conference, there's only 3 people. There's me, there's Mishari, and there's one more. So like what happened? We have like 900 developers building open source, but they're not getting outside of Thailand. They're not building anything useful. Here, look at commits at top. You can see that people, well, yeah, the first 10 ones are my friends, so ignore that. But basically, other people, they're not engaged with open source as much. So this comes to a fundamental question. What motivates you to build open source? This was me when I was 14 years old, I think. So I got in love with Linux because my Windows file system broke down, all my files is gone. So I cried for over a day until I remember I had Linux. So every proprietary system didn't work, but basically I downloaded the source code for NTFS and I programmed it to remove all the error, and suddenly all my files are back. So I fell in love with open source because I can modify the Linux driver, the Linux kernel, and I can make anything possible. And if you use Linux, you can have this really totally fancy Windows. There's the KDE booth if you're interested.
Another motivation is what you like. So my friends, he like a certain kind of Japanese cartoon. I'm not gonna say what kind it is, but basically he's really into that, so that he built a whole tech stack around it. And it only takes less than $1 to serve 1,000 people. And here's even worse, or even better, because he was building this cartoon website and he think it's not fast enough, so he wrote his own web framework in Bun, and now it's the fastest. So there's a lot of motivation that can make people, well, do open source, or when you see a lot of bad syntax and you want to make it better, you make it open source. Now, unfortunately, in Thailand, there are a lot of hostility towards open source, and that was part of our culture in the beginning because we were afraid of people taking our IP, afraid of friendly foreigners taking our land. So that kind of fear was kind of ingrained. But like as the newer generations grow, they want to change that. They want to try to make things more open and more shared. So what motivates you? I would say it's really two things. First, you fix the shortcomings of your software. You're using a library, but you see, hey, the software is not really doing what I like. So I fork it, I write a plugin. Another thing is you get to learn so quickly, because if you do open source, you get to learn from really good people. You get people like trying to teach you by comments. Now, what do Thais want to fix? This is like the big question. If I can answer this, I can get as many Thai people to join me. So let's talk the elephant in the room, shall we? Okay, what do you think of when you think of Thai culture? You might think of Khao San, Nana, all the clubs. You might think of beaches. You might think of temples and Pad Thai. But if you take the red pill, well, it looks a little different for us in Thailand. This is the freshest air in Bangkok. Yeah, when you wake up, this is like what you see. So yesterday it was 152 AQI for us in Bangkok. So basically, if you forgot to wear your PM mask, well, you're gonna have to go to the clinic. Many people are feeling their eyes burned, so driest street in Bangkok. So we got so many floods. We have like really bad water management problems. And here's the lightest traffic in Bangkok. I'm not joking. So there are like so many cars and it's very hard to travel. And this is the cleanest street post. Some people say it's kind of like an installation art in Thailand, but well, trust me, it makes it really hard to travel. So everyone knows that Bangkok has a problem and all of us want to fix it. So how can we do open source tooling with data science to make it better? So this is where we assemble people like the Avengers. And I want to tell you one thing right now. Even the topic of the talk is Bangkok Open Source Hackathon, but hackathon itself is a lie. It's not really a hackathon. So it's all started when the Thai Programmer Association, they asked me, hey, can you build a hackathon that would take all the ideas from HackBKK and make it happen? So I thought, what the heck is HackBKK? So it turns out it's an idea-thon, you know, that kind of hackathon where you don't actually get to code and people are actually like brainstorming ideas. How do you think it went after hackathon? Well, it went exactly as you imagined. The ideas remain ideas, most of them, and the startups that say they want to take that idea and make it happen, some of them can, but it's a proprietary solution. So I actually get to meet this guy, this handsome guy. He's the newest governor in Thailand. He's like, Thai people call him Mr. Strong, so he's Chachat. So we talked to him about open source in Thailand, and this is what he told me, and it kind of struck. So he told me he wants to see the software being maintained and adopted. He developers, they should spend more time with the communities they're working to solve problems. Also, he would like to see projects be abandoned. So this is really the heart of open source. If it's an idea in a hackathon and it dies, no one can use it. But if it's open source, everyone can fork it, they can use it. So here's another red pill. As much as I like organizing hackathons, I have done like over 20 of them. But the problem is it's not really the answer to this problem. Neither is proprietary startups. Because for hackathons, they're really perfect for like ideation, getting people to learn, right? That's its own goal. But it's not really for building something that sustains. Another thing is golf kick startups. In Thailand, there are hits, but no one's making it open source. They're not sharing their code, but we are the one that's paying the taxes. So there's a saying, public money, public code. Now, what's the solution? Let me tell you one project we have been doing in Thailand. So we had the election several years ago. So we have this really fancy dashboard. But the thing is, this dashboard was built in less than 8 days. So how do we do it? It has so many features, it has so many things. Well, we make it open source. So in this project, in the span of 8 days, we have over 30 contributors, I believe, and people working over 90 PRs. Now, because Thai people are so like, they're really are passionate about elections because of our current situation. So you can see why like there's an influx of Thai people opening PRs. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested, we have like a gold mine of like how we use several open source techniques like puzzle-driven developments and other methods to make open source really easy. So we were actually inspired by Hack for Public Good. If there's anyone from GovTech here, thank you. I just copied your idea. So just kidding. So we took the inspiration from Hack for Public Good from Singapore, and we came to a conclusion. Don't stop at prototypes, but really build open source. So how do you do that? This is where we try to come up with the idea of Bangkok open source, where it's not really a hackathon, that was just a lie. It's actually a 2-month program where we build 2 workshops plus 3 hack days. So it takes a lot more effort than your normal hackathon, but the results were really worth it. So we break it up into 4 sessions, 2 workshops, 1 open hack day where everyone in Bangkok can join, and a final hackathon. So this was the first workshop. So we first started with getting people from different open source circles to meet because no one knows each other. And here's a couple of cool talks from that event. When we think of open source, we think of software, right? But this guy, he tried to build an open source community where everyone from multiple provinces can adopt that idea. And as you can see, most meetups are held like in a conference hall like this, where it's really nice and friendly. But we actually held it in the middle of a barn. And we have the whole village making their own food and producing drinks. So it turns out it's a really nice way to bring communities together. Okay, let's do one better. How about an open source house? So most of the house plan in our world are closed source, right? But if you're trying to build better communities, you've got to make it open source. So this is why the team from Muse Foundation, they try to build a whole village where every house is open source. So everything has a CAD model where you can do printing, you can do the very precise operations. Another talk is about a system in Thailand called Trophy Fondue. So I'm not sure if Singaporeans have something similar, but if you see something wrong, like there's a flood or the light doesn't work, you can report it and it floats into a database. The nice thing is that the data is completely open source. There's an API, so we took some data analysis so we can know what problem we can focus on. Another talk is about civic tech. So in Thailand, we do a lot of data storytelling and data visualization because people have difficult time understanding data. So that's why we use data a lot in civic tech. So you can look at the YouTube channel if you want to see these kind of videos. So now let's look at workshop 2. At workshop 2, we try to get people to brainstorm ideas, not just meet each other, and actually try to come up with prototypes. So we have speakers from the domain side, and I think this is very important. Many hackathons, they only have hackers, developers like us, but they don't have people from government, from the citizens, from community that actually knows that. But of course, we also have people who are good at tech to give advice into how to structure the repos. So a big part of our success was the Bangkok open source Discord, because even if the hackathon is really 5 days, but it's actually 2 months. So most of the teams, they were actually on Discord night and day. This team called WeSpace. The funny thing is the hackathon has been long over, but there are no signs of stopping. So this team, they just like done another satellite programming. So you can see like the community is getting up very fast, and there's already 825 people in the Discord. Now, when it's a hackathon, many times there's clear competition, right? You have to get first place, second place, but we scrap all of that because if in open source, there can't be an internal competition, you have to cooperate. So the goal is you can join any team, you can leave any time, and there's no first to third place, but we come up with something a little different. We also did an open hack day. So this is not only limited to people who are in the hackathon, but let's say if you're someone who's, for example, we got a guy who was an arborist. So an arborist is someone who works with trees. So he comes into the project and he tells the guy like how like tree management works. And it turns out to be really good because people can come together and work. And fast forward to the hackathon day. So in most hackathons, like the hackathon vibe is very stressful, right? You don't really get to sleep and everything is tense. But because they have been working on it for already 2 months, it's not really stressful because like it's mostly finishing up the project and trying to make sure everything's polished. So we have 3 judges from different sites. So we have someone from civic tech and someone from growth tech and from the industrial side. Now, this is the fun part, the award, because usually we have first to third place, but I think that is very anti-open source. So we actually make 3 kinds of awards: contributability, which is how easy it is to open a PR or contribute something; concept, which is how good the concept is; and implementation, which is how good the software works. It can't be a prototype, it has to work. So there is 8 groups, as you can see here, and I'll quickly go over them. So here's a question, not a stupid one. Like, how do you know which party to vote for when you have so many political parties and all policies look similar? You use AI and you use natural language. So there are like, I think the students are 13 to 15-year-olds. So they're still in their like middle school, high school. But the really cool thing is they wrote their own like text clustering algorithm to try to cluster the policy. How do you know where to buy land? There's so many things you have to think of in buying land. But they actually wrote a software that would incorporate multiple data sources. For example, is it near the airport? How much are the income of the citizen near there? Is it near the sea? So they can make better decisions for business and for buying the land. And again, these students, they are 15 to 18 years old, but they're already building stuff for people of Bangkok, which is really cool. And as you can see here, it's not mock data, it's actually live. This is the fun one. How do you make money while making lives better? Well, you report people who doesn't follow the law and get money. So there are people who like park their motorbikes in like the walkways, and in Bangkok you see this every day, and you're really angry at them. Like, why do you park there? You cannot walk. So they have a channel where you can actually submit this photo and get money, but we're like, wait, we have AI. We can use the YOLO model to basically do like segmentation, and we know like, whoa, this is the bike. We can report them to the police. And so we did that. So they take the data from all the CCTV and auto report to the police. And you can probably make like $100,000 from just doing that. So yeah, this is how you get rich from open source. And how do you know changes are actually being made? Because like so many things are happening in Bangkok. So my friend Tai, he wrote a Twitter board that aggregate the data from Trafi, which is the system for reporting problem. And he posts a summary every day on Twitter, the before and the after. And this is really nice because people can actually criticize the government with data. So they can reply on the tweet, hey, why is my light pole not being fixed? That's not good. Oh, what about building tools? So this woman, she's bonus. So she's trying to build a tool to break all the silos in Thailand, because in Thailand you need 10 signatures to do anything. So she wrote a tool for everyone to connect. Peer sharing is a nice one. So this is the software where people used to do peer sharing in chat groups, and they're basically losing a lot of money because of people are cheating. So they write a system so that it's impossible to cheat anymore. Okay, we have 3 more minutes, so let's talk about the award winners. So this one is the concept award winner, which is called Rashakitja. Rashakitja is government gazette. So basically it's the like the messages from the government, but right now in Thailand it's all in PDF and it's not properly digitized. Yeah, so they try to digitize this together. And the next one is Respace. So this is the best one. They try to digitize all the trees in Bangkok, because right now they are actually paying the government a lot. I lost that slide. But basically, right now they are paying 180,000 baht in order to digitize 40,000 trees. So you can see we're wasting 100,000, maybe million baht of money paying for proprietary software. And it would take them 300 years to digitize all the trees in Bangkok. And I'll be dead long before that. So the nice thing is they use data from Street View and Aerial View. They use a lot of AI like deep forest and tree detection, also segmentation. And they submit all that data to OpenStreetMap. So you can see this is how like people are actually building with open source. And there are like people who are not only developers, but arborists who's working on that. And you can see we get so many pull requests, over 110 commits. And we also get so many contributors. So a quick special thanks to Kun Mishari here from OpenTech, because he has been helping us so much with like providing ideas for the hackathon. And also thank you for everyone who sponsor. So quickly, what we learned. First, in order to get people to like come collaborate to open source, you must get them motivated. So this might be building something silly. Next is keeping the momentum. How do you keep people engaged? And finally, to facilitate the adoption, because an open source software that no one uses isn't really open source. So you need you need to get them adopted by people. And finally, this is the second governor of Bangkok. So he was taking the photo for us. So it's not only students building, but also the governor of Bangkok. So the next step is we're keeping up that momentum. So we're building a next hackathon for the upcoming election, where we can catch if the election is being done transparently. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for Palm? Anyone?
Oh. Okay. So.
Where are you finding the participants from? Like, how are they discovering?
Okay.
Hello everyone. So here we have Ted. So he's actually the founder of Kaiyuanshu China. So today he's going to talk about building an open source ecosystem to win a digital future together. So please welcome Ted, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me do a quick check. So who has attended yesterday's Apache Software Foundation's presentation? Like Rich Bowen and William John's presentation? Raise your hand. No, the speaker doesn't count. Anyhow, okay. 台湾社长, and there's a gift for you. Okay. Yeah, actually I have more. So welcome to this session. I'm starting counting my time. It's quite busy. I'm Ted Liu. Briefly introduce myself. I currently wearing 3 hats. The first hat is Kaiyuanshu. I'm the co-founder, and Kaiyuanshu is an open source, ground up open source alliance in China. So we founded in 2014. So we call ourselves a home of open source world, and we call it a community of communities of open source. I'm also in the Apache Software Foundation. My third hat is the open source rainforest advisor. So I have 3 hats. So you can see the hat tricks. The picture up there. Previously, I was with a few companies and startup and some multinational company. So you can see the green one. That green means open source. So the green one all related with open source. The red one actually is year 2000 with the dot-com bubble bursts. I was with one of the top 3 Linux distribution in the world. But they never went listed, so it's a startup failure. But it's a good lesson to me. So I started to embrace open source since then. So my I call 3-body experiences. One is in Taiwan. I was born and grew up in Taiwan, in U.S. and in China for 22 years. So I call it 3-body experiences. So who have read the book? Oh, okay. You did? 3-body problem. Have you read the book? Okay. There's a try connection for your power. So that solves your 3 problems for different devices. Anyhow, the last book says a death end, but I don't believe that. I believe that penguin gonna conquer the world. When love and peace and open source gonna conquer the world. Anyway, it's quite interesting. So everybody can reach out to me through this contact method. Okay, today I talked about open source market dynamics and the developer booming globally and in China. So we can see that the open source adoption has been increasingly growing everywhere, even in China. And nowadays, the open source acquisition and adoption in the enterprise is larger than the proprietary one. You can see the stats here. Then the proprietary software, the blue one, and the OSS commercial and the OSS community software, and it also happens in China the same way. Also, we can see the OSS adoption in the industry. in many industries like financial and energy, even the entertainment industry like Academy Software Foundation. Sorry, it's wrong. Academy Software Foundation. Right, and for developer, China is one of the fastest growing market in the world. Currently, the compound annual growth rate is 19%. So one of the fastest market in the world. And but the challenge is that we have many projects. From my experience, that in 2015, when we started Kaiyan Shore, then we do the first Apache Roadshow in China. There was only one project, Apache Killing, as a top-level project. And nowadays, today, we have 34 projects, and 23 of them have been graduated as a top-level project. 11 is still incubating. So, but however, the successful business model is yet to be approved, yet to be proved, and the people are still the investor, the venture capitalists, they are eager to invest in open source project, but then you can see that, like last week in Hong Kong, there's a Web3 conferences. So the web table, there's 9 investors, only 1 project. That's a very pleasant experience, right? Then 9 investors approach you. So open source project is very popular. Then but there are fewer investors. They look into the project, right? So the successful models is yet to be proved yet. Right, and then we know that China's a big enterprise and startup open source business. They were going through these stages: consumer stage, then the participant stage, contribution stage, and the leader stage. But I would say that most of the Chinese enterprise, even the top 500 enterprises or small, medium enterprises, are still in a very early stage, and most of them are still in the early stage. And the problem is that the capability gap, including the compliance and governance capability, and the capability to participate in the open source community. That was led by the reason of misunderstanding of open source. There are a few reasons. One is, which Bowen mentioned yesterday, free as a free puppy. They think it's free, but actually, you raise up a puppy dog is not really free. You need to spend a lot of time to take care of the puppet. And excuse me, the compliance. The many enterprises, they don't understand that how to use that open source software correctly. That creates a technology depths and the security issues. So the compliance is one major issue here. The selection, then they don't know how to select a robust, well-built, and sustainable project. So that also creates an issue that, and also they don't know how to choose their open source project business model going forward. So that it's been challenged by the corporate leaders and how the open source project and its business model can be profitable and sustainable. Yeah, and that's the next one is I think that most companies and a lot of developers in China, they don't really understand how to grow their community or participate in the community here. Right. So here comes play for open source rainforest. It's probably one of very few communities that focus on bring bring the enterprise open source to a better place. So that they position themselves as a partner of choice. And okay, my time has shows 6:15, 6 minutes and 15 seconds. So I have my timer. Thank you. So our vision is driving enterprise growth with open source. So our mission is to building open source knowledge framework and empowering enterprise open source capabilities. But in China, there's a phenomenon is that either the biggest enterprise, they lead the open source project, or the startup. What's missing is a small and medium enterprise. They don't know, they don't have resources, they don't have knowledge. But the top enterprise are mostly led by who has a strong open source projects, mostly from ICT, internet, communication, telecom, and but other traditional industry, they still, try to figure out how to do the open source. I believe that represents a huge opportunity here. So that's our approach. We work with the industry customer, we help them understand open source, help them know how to use open source and contribute to open source, then finally become a leader, thought leadership, right? So we come up with an open source empowerment program. Currently, we roll out 9 courses out of 11. So from 4 different categories, understand open source and its best practices, and open source compliance supply chain management. That's the very proposition, right? That echoes what Rich said yesterday. And enterprise open source value chain and strategy, business model, so on and so forth. And there's 2 more courses is under development, right? This is the history and journey that how we prepare and publish these courses. Back in last year, almost this time, in August, and we published 2 more courses. I was one of the speakers here, right? And actually, FOSSASIA Summit is the first one that we launched this, announced that 5 more courses. And so I'm supposed to announce it back in China. But this is a test bed. I announced it in FOSSASIA Summit. So 5 more courses will be launched. And then remember, there's 2 more courses, the last 2 courses that focus on open source usage and ecosystem building. Then we take a different approach. When we talk to people who has real practice and real experience how to do open source governance and how to do open source project. So like ZTE, then telecom, one of the telecom equipment provider in China, like Ant Group, one of the largest internet financial group in China. And also we talk with one community health measurement project called Open Source Compass that help enterprise open source project to evaluate whether this project is robust enough, whether it is sustainable, right? Okay, then more to come. There will interview with Talktic ByteDance, Linux Foundation, OSPO Group, DD Global, WeBank, so on and so forth. So that we put all these fireside chats together and make a more interactive conversation, and we accumulate the experiences and the best practices together for these 2 courses, right? Open source usage and the open source ecosystem building. They will learn from their experience. All right. Actually, we have 1 minute and 45 seconds. So anyone has more question? Anyone has a question? I have a souvenir that I can give. If none, then I'm done here. Thank you for your listening. Thank you.